I'm going to start with a video. It's a video made in Norway. I've asked some help around the world. I'm from the Netherlands. I've asked help for this presentation from people in Norway, England, Canada, USA. So, yeah, the talk will be an hour long. I've got lots of video material. I think it's very interesting because it's put out all over the world. The first video is an introduction.
Som det här använder jag till att driva med musik själv. Utan hjälp från som har en assistent som jag ska säga spela det och det. Det blir liksom lite som du får nästan ingen mästringsfølelse av det. Så kunna göra ting själv och sätta tankarna sina alltså sätta tankarna sina ut i livet utan att det går via ett mellanled. Det tror jag är viktigt, för då kan man göra det akkurat sånt som man själv vill göra det. Och inte fortälla så bra man kan till mellomleddet, och så blir det sånt som mellomleddet tror det ska vara.
Okay. What you see here is a painting, and this painting is very special to me. This painting is made by a boy, Cedric, and Cedric is 16 years old, and this is his first painting ever made using assistive technology. It's made just a month ago. I did notice that Alfer had a little spot on his head just in the beginning, Alfer from Turkey. And I did the same with Cedric. I put a little dot here, a little dot on his forehead, and with a camera I could turn that dot into mouse movement. And for the first time Cedric was able to create something, a painting. So I think that's quite spectacular. It's made by a program called ArtRage. It's the same program as David used for his paintings. And I think ArtRage is a fantastic program. Okay, my name is Ruud van der Wel, and I live in Rotterdam in Holland. I work at the rehabilitation center Rijndam. You will see the logo of where I work there in the corner. And this is my foundation, my Bread, My Music. And this is my goal. My foundation aims to give people with severe physical disabilities the opportunity to play music using either self-adapted electronic instruments or electronic instruments we have developed ourselves. My foundation is started just 5 years ago. I have a website called mybreadmymusic.com, and so 8 years ago I started mybreadmymusic.com as a website, and one of the first persons that contacted me was David Whalen. And what's the website and what's my foundation like? On the website you will find strategies to play music if you have a severe disability. You will find the stories of my students. This morning you saw Ivo, bass player in my band. I give respiratory therapy to most of my students. My students suffer from diseases, muscular disabilities, and it's a progressive thing. So they get worse and worse over the years. And using electronic wind instruments is lung training for them. Because it's training, I have a lending program and I lend instruments throughout the Netherlands to my pupils. So they can play at home. Just like this morning, Ivo has an instrument at home and he's practicing every day at home. And not only it's good for his lungs, but also he can create music and be part of this wonderful thing called music. He can play in our school band. So he has a very good way of letting things out, I think. This is also very special. I have my program running now as foundation for a few years, and I was contacted last year by an organization. It's called the Princess Christina Concours, and what they do is they have every year a conquest for the best young people playing classical instruments. And they have this thing, it's called the Classic Express. It's a huge van, and the van drives around to my little country, the Netherlands, only 50 million people there. And they go from school to school to introduce classical music to all the youngsters. And last year they called me and they said, we have noticed that what you're doing, and would you like to be part of this thing? And I said, yeah, sure, I want. So I went to the organization and I gave instruction to the people that work in the Classic Express, and now they use some of the adapted musical instruments on board of the Classic Express. I'm going to show you a video we made, and I'm afraid the video is in Dutch. I know your Dutch is not as good as mine. But you will understand the story. The Classic Express is driving from school to school in the Netherlands, the primary schools, and they show what music is to all the youngsters. And not only that, since this year, they visit special schools and they also show the music there. And I think that's a big thing. Here's the video.
De Classic Express is de eerste rijdende concertzaal ter wereld. Het is een enorme uitschuifbare trailer waarin jonge muziektalenten kinderen laten kennismaken met klassieke muziek.
Don José komt het café binnen en hij ziet Carmen dansen op de tafels met haar castagnette. Dat is het. Ja, en ze verleidt hem. Met die castagnet gaat ze naar hem toe. En deze dans, jongens, die heet de habanera. En heel veel mensen kennen deze dans. En jullie gaan nu er ook kennis mee maken.
Vooraan een rij maken. Ja, natuurlijk. Dan mag je de hele tijd spelen en blazen. Dat doe je door te blazen. En als je je hoofd omhoog beweegt, dan komen er ook hoge tonen uit. Wil je dat eens proberen? Doe maar. Blaas maar op het rietje en doe maar je hoofd omhoog. Hoofd. En nu weer naar beneden. Oh, daar is die. Komen er lage tonen uit, hè? Hartstikke goed. Nog één keer. Ja, en als je de hele tijd, nu mag je de hele tijd blazen en luisteren wat voor klanken eruit komen en dan speel je samen met Felicia een stuk.
In the video is the instrument we developed with David in the beginning a few years ago, and with Brian Dillon from Ireland, and it's one of the first instruments. I'm going to show you all the instruments in my presentation now, and the first thing, the first assistive technology you're gonna see is called the sound beam, and the sound beam uses sonar, and you can move your hand through a sonar signal and trigger notes. The triggering is done by MIDI. I don't know if you all know what MIDI is, but I will try to explain. In the 80s, the companies of different keyboards and synthesizers thought that it would be good if there was a protocol so the different instruments could communicate with each other. And they came up with this thing called MIDI. It means that if I have a keyboard over here and I press a key, I can transmit that signal to another keyboard and the other keyboard will start playing. It's our so-called MIDI messages, and you will see that in all the stuff we use in music, MIDI is a big thing. We can also say that the things we are using are MIDI controllers. A MIDI controller can also be a MIDI keyboard that you plug into a computer. So you're gonna see a video of Ari Kinarty. He's from Canada, and he is also muscular disability, SMA, spinal muscular atrophy type 2. And he uses the sound beam to create his own music. And this is from, I think, the news in Canada, a news program.
A step closer brings us to the lower end of the music scale. A step away makes for a higher note. It's state-of-the-art technology, a modern instrument. A tool that's given 22-year-old Ari Kinarty a chance to be a musician.
Now I have a way to show people that, you know, anybody can be a musician, no matter what disability or anything.
You see, Ari's been limited his whole life. He was born with a genetic disability known as spinal muscular atrophy.
So I was born with muscle weakness throughout the body, and it's progressive, so I get weaker over years. But there's always technology for everything.
And it's this piece of technology that's given him a new perspective. With the help of his wheelchair, this is an instrument he can play. It's called the sound beam. This model is used in the music therapy program at the Victoria Conservatory of Music.
It looks like a red microphone, and what the microphone sends out is ultrasonic sound, so sound we can't hear. But what that does is when you intersect that sound, it goes back through the sound beam, which the sort of the control device, which turns it into MIDI into the computer.
Ari wasn't always a music buff. It was about 6 years ago when he realized he had a knack for music. Now he can't get enough of it. He prefers to be called a composer instead of a student, and Alan is his instructor rather than a music therapist. Since 2008, they've redefined their focus on a new project, building Ari's first full-length album, The Lion's Journey.
My name in Hebrew means lion, and this is like my journey. So I decided that an album would be called The Lion's Journey. I like my music very specific, so I get different melodies in my head, and then I try to convey them to Alan, and he plugs it into the program.
We explore so much creative ground, whether it be all the different genres he tries, and we experiment a lot with sound. We experiment a lot with different chord changes, different music. A lot of stuff gets tried and thrown out, and that's okay. That's part of the process.
With the exception of a few drum loops, this lion builds every single note from scratch.
It's so inspiring working with him. To see the stuff he can do, it's just amazing. He's come so far in the last 5 or 6 years. Who knows where he's going to go in the next 5 or 6? So it's really amazing, to see where the music can take him.
Almost exciting to show the public who I am, to inspire people. That's my main goal. I love to inspire.
But one inspiring record is not enough for Ari. He's currently working on his second album called The Lion's Roar. He's one song and an album cover away from releasing it to the public. In Victoria, I'm Jen Moranitz for The Daily.
That's it.
Oh. Okay. So, I promised Ari to make some advertisements, and his new album is out. 2 weeks ago. It's available on CD Baby. I know. The Soundbeam was one of the first devices. It's made in 1990 or something. It was not made for people with disability. It was made for dancers. There were some avant-garde dancers that wanted to make movement into music. So they came up with the device. And it's very accessible, the Soundbeam. You can use it for most any disability that there is. So it's a very good device. A big role for us all here is this thing here. Meet Frank. Frank is a kid from the rehabilitation center that I work, and he's got cerebral palsy. Very bad, severe cerebral palsy. He almost can't move his arms and legs. He's spastic. And he drives around in a wheelchair with his head. Now, if you look up, you see children exploring the world. They paint with their hands. They dance. They walk around. They can create. They can explore the world far more better than Frank. Using art and music can make a bit of difference for Frank, because he can create melody or create, maybe later, a digital painting. I think that's a big thing, that he can create things himself. Make something yourself, Normally kids go to play with sand and water and all these things. And Frank has to look how other kids are doing this, So I think music is underestimated. I'm going to tell you about the use of switches. Switch music. I brought some switches with me. You have all kinds of switches. And the switch is the same as on your keyboard of your computer. You know, you press it and you get reaction. Here's a switch. And here's a switch. This one is very light. And you can see it when you press it, it will turn on the light. You see it? Press it very gentle. A switch can be used for many disabilities, for very severe disabilities. I've worked with people with locked-in syndrome, people that could not move their body at all, but with a blink switch, an eye blink switch, they still could control something. I even use brain switch. It's called brain fingers. It's a thing you wear around your head, and with brain activity, you can switch things on and off. Little Frank had this device in his wheelchair, and I want to explain how that works. The switch you have got over there, this is quite regular switch for disabled. But the switch in the wheelchair of Frank is a switch with 3 ways, you see. You can click left, right, and center. And I built a musical program around that. I made an instrument out of the head switch, and I'm going to show you how that will work. Okay, I have some tone bells, and if you click on the right switch, you go up in the tone scale. Oh, sorry. If you click on the left side, you will go down the tone scale. If you click on the back, you will repeat a note. And I brought in an extra switch for skipping a note. In the next video, you will see Cedric. Cedric is the same boy from the painting. He has severe disability, and he's very tensed. He's very spastic. This is the instrument. It's a bit long video, but I want to ask you to have a close look to the body of Cedric. I will say that he starts like this, and at the end of the video his arms are like this. You will see that his arms are bound to his wheelchair, otherwise his arms will be here. Yeah. The other thing, I hope you see Cedric change a bit in the video and see him more as a person at the end of the video. It's hard to see the person behind the person in the wheelchair sometimes. So I hope that will change during the video for you. Okay, thank you. A big difference. Switches are used at more places, but they always use it. Not always, but mostly are used in a different way. You know, they give a certain pupil a certain melody, so they press and you will get a melody. Or kids have to play a chord in a musical structure. But I'm far more interested in improvising music, because improvising is creating and creative. And oh, what's this? Here we go. The system you saw was more or less put together. You know, I took some components and lucky for me, I have a son. He's very good in programming. He's sitting there, yours, and he hacked around the program, so I could do this. And but it's very hard for people to install my programs on the computer. So we are going to try to make something for the iPad, so you just can go to the App Store and have an app doing this with an with a switch thing you can buy in a store. Most likely the app will be free, so let's hope that a lot of youngsters will get access to music. Also, the iPad is a very good device for a lot of children. And there is a program I like so much. I'm going to show you. This program is called TomJam. What the people of TomJam did is add extra controls into the program. You all know GarageBand, I think. You can play piano or guitar with your finger. The people of TomJam took that idea a little bit farther. You can add extra control to your finger. As you see in the screen here, you can control more things with your finger. If you shake your finger, you can add vibrato to a sound, or tremolo, and you can use your finger for volume. In the next clip, we are going to meet Daniel, and Daniel is also cerebral palsy. He can't even speak, and all his life he used a wooden letterboard, and he can write with his letterboard, and he can communicate with you using the letterboard. Yeah, he's gonna communicate with you now. So, and the iPad, of course, is also touching. And iPad was so dead right for Daniel. The next thing is something completely different. I've asked people in Norway to do an interview with this person, and Alina is her name. She has limb girdle, is also a muscular disability, and she used to play flute, the flute. She used to play side flute, you call the thing, I think. And at a given time, she was no longer able to play this flute. In this clip, she's going to show you her new instrument, the instrument she uses now for making music.
So, and what is your main instrument now?
Well, Xbox controller, I suppose I could say.
And combined with which
combined with
softwares?
With Escape and Apollo, where I've got the keys from the Xbox controller, mainly controlling MIDI notes, and in some cases volume controllers. So I can step forward and I can step backwards. And I can repeat. In addition, I have volume control on the joystick. I also have a MIDI note for switching tracks. Switch between the topmost two tracks. And I've got MIDI notes controlling the different tracks in Escape. This piece though is played gated, which means that when I push down, it'll play, and when I let go it stops, which means I can myself decide the length of each note as I play it. Okay.
Alina did pass her exam, and I know she's watching now, so we give her a round of applause. So assistive technology for music can do this. She's studying, you know. We started with little kids and now we have a person there. This is also very special. The person you see here has locked-in syndrome. Locked-in means that you lost all the capabilities with your body, but your mind is still strong. And they use this technology, is called eye gaze technology. You can control your PC just with your eyes. Go left with your eyes or right with your eyes and you move your mouse around. And in the clip you will see this person, I think his name is Richard Bennett, using eye gaze to create music in a program called Escape. And Escape is software made by Tim Anderson. Maybe Tim is watching too. And the program is highly adaptable because Richard has also bad vices. We can make the components of Escape very big in the screen, and he is still able to see all these components.
And then don't do that one. Choose step length. That one, yeah. Nearly. Ooh. I need to do
more here.
I might. So then you can choose a different longer 4 beats, 2 beats. And then you can add a note now. Yeah, why not? Oh yes, yeah. So it's 2 beats long. You can change it later as well if you want to. Make that higher.
Okay. So I've run through some systems here, and this is what we have seen so far. Maybe more or less I covered the whole territory of assistive technology for music. I'm going to concentrate on item number 1, electronic wind instruments, because that's the thing I use a lot, and also David uses this wonderful instrument, the Jam box. It's a very good instrument, a very accurate instrument, very good in playing songs, and also very affordable. So these are the wind controlled instruments I use, and I think wind controllers are great because they are real instruments, you know. Of course, the other instruments are nice too, but they stand a little bit farther away from real instruments. Wind controllers is a different story. And you've got great control with the wind instrument. The only thing is that it will not work for Cedric and for Daniel and other kids with severe spastics or a person that's locked in. You have to keep that in mind. I made a device called the Magic Switch, and it's also interesting because it's a stompbox you can use with an electronic saxophone-like instrument, and you can play it with 3 fingers. It says here, it lets you toggle between 2 notes. I made a very short clip this time to show you how the Magic Switch will work for a person with Duchenne muscular disability. There's a little switch in his right hand, and he switches there. He toggles between notes. It's a little bit hard to imagine, but hoe zit ik in de tijd, weet je dat? So here I made a special device for a device that's already there in the shops. I don't know how am I doing in the time now. Okay. So this is how all things started. This is Mr. David Whalen. And David and me used to do jamming on the internet, and he made drum tracks and things like that. And one day, this brilliant figure thought, I buy a slide flute. It's a flute with a stick in it. And he used a cloth hanger there, David. And he moved his head, and he could change pitch. And that was the start of the Magic Flute and the jam box. So, David, thank you. And this was the first time the Magic Flute was played. Glenn was 6 years old, and he was really the first person ever on earth to play a Magic Flute. And me and his mom were sitting there in tears, because we didn't expect what to happen, you know. It was, yeah, nobody played this instrument before. And now, I think it's 6 years later, we made an album and Glenn played on the album. And in my last presentation video, you will see Glenn perform during a live event, the Electric Festival in Holland. They performed a piece with Remy Stromer. Remy Stromer is a very well-known synthesizer artist in Holland, and maybe after this thing also in America. So Remy plays synthesized the music, and a few of my students jammed with him on the magic flute. I highly believe in improvised music, you know, and you can improvise music quite easy on a magic flute. In the next video you will hear Glenn play, and it's interesting to know what the sound is that he plays. So in expert number 1 he plays the nylon guitar sound, and the cool thing about Jambox and Magic Flute is that it responds to velocity. So if you blow soft, you will get a soft note, and if you blow loud, you get a louder note. But that's not all. There is also a thing called breath control. It's also MIDI data, but breath control is quite different. You can vary the value within a single note. So like if you ride a car with a gas pedal, you can go fast and go back less fast and fast again. It's the same with breath control. You can vary within a single note, the same as a trumpet player can do, or a saxophone player like Eric. And you can map breath control to certain things. And in the sounds Glenn uses, we mapped breath control to filters for brightness and also to his volume. Because if you have a real instrument, the brightness changes if you play louder. It's also the last video of my presentation. I hope you had fun watching it, and I hope you like what you have seen so far. And I hope it was a kind of inspiration for you. This is my last video. Glenn, the same boy, 6 years later.
Thank you.
So, this is the end of my show.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
I have a lot of questions, but I'm not
Okay.
going to ask them all because
Okay.
I think we're going to run out of time.
Yeah.
So, you know, Ruud, one thing we haven't really talked much about is we talk a lot about technology, but maybe you can talk a little bit about. I mean, you talked here and there about what does it kind of difference does it make for the children and adults that they can perform music? And is there a difference between somebody who would be considered normally abled and what it means for their life?
The big thing for me is that the children anticipate now in groups, and they can go out there and play with other persons instead of staying at home.
Okay.
And all my students are so into music, they follow me. If I have to do a gig, they're going to gig with me, you know. And sometimes they play with artists like this, right. But they also could join a regular band and play. So they can do things together. I think that's quite big. And also that they are playing at home, having a hobby, for some of my pupils, they say life is the biggest thing in their life, you know. And that wouldn't be the case if we didn't had given them the chance to play. Right. So the introduction to assistive technology for them is bigger than anything else in their life. So
well,
what more can I say?
Like some of them, you know, you say a hobby, but some of them really seem to take it really, really serious. I mean, producing CDs and you know, and making covers and so.
Yeah, and I think that's the way to go. You know.
Well, you definitely need to send us the links so we can put them up on the ISATMA web.
Yeah, I will do so. Yeah. Yeah.
Do we have other questions?
Yeah, please ask. No questions.